it's a massive uplift from a technology perspective, the way we were running things, 5 to 10 years back to what is happening now.
Service hubs, are the nerve center of the BPM industry.
It is no longer just a service hub. It is the innovation hub. It is the revenue hub.
Gen AI, this is going to be disruptive for sure. I think as with any such disruption, I think it's how we navigate it.
AI is there to amplify that empathy delivered in every transaction.
The golden age of customer service has actually begun.
Hello and welcome to this very special webinar series brought to you by Business Insider India in partnership with NASSCOM. I'm Ridhima Bhatnagar. As we continue our continuous coverage of the fascinating world of the BPM industry, today we shed light on another crucial aspect, which is revolutionizing customer experience, innovating service hubs through technology. Now, you would all agree with me when I say the customer service industry and even the experience has in a way gone through a seismic shift over the last few years. If you compare it to the last 5 years, it is very different today. And all of that is because of technology and the advancements of technology. And because of that, even service hubs of how we knew them a few years ago to what we see them today are very different, because even they've gone through an evolution. They're far more sophisticated today. Once again, because of the aid of technology, specifically like artificial intelligence and Gen AI. Thus, that brings us to the big question. What is the next chapter? What is the future of service hubs? And that's exactly what we will try and discuss in our panel today. And we have a stellar panel joining us. Let me introduce our panel. We have Sanjay Kukreja, Global Technology Head of eClerx. Hi, Sanjay. Good to have you with us.
Hi, Ridhima. Good to be here.
We also have Vijay Narsapur, SVP and Business Head Customer Experience Integrated Unit, Infosys BPM. Hi, Vijay. Good to have you with us.
Hi, Ridhima. Thanks for having me.
We also have Samir Bapat, SVP and COO at Cognizant IOA. Hi, Samir. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Ridhima. Good to see all of you.
And we also have Abhinandan Jain, Chief Growth Officer at StarTech. Hi, Abhinandan. Good to have you with us.
Absolutely a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure is all mine, gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking out the time and joining us. So, Sanjay, let me kickstart things with you just to set context. When I was introducing the panel and the theme for today's discussion, I said that there has been an evolution, and that evolution has come from technology. Before we get down to the brass tacks, just for better context of viewers who are watching us, and even people from within the industry, if I had to ask you how the service hubs were, say 5 years ago to now, how would you define them? How much change have you seen, and what is the big difference that has come?
That's a very good question, Ridhima. A couple of years back, 5-10 years back, the service hub were primarily running in silos, if I have to say. A large part of the service hub used to do voice work, chat work. There was some amount of automation that we used to do, CRM. Services which were which were very disjointed in nature. We tried getting a customer 360 view a couple of years back, but it was not very easy pulling data from all different data sets and trying to draw insights. I think fast track to now, there are a lot of tools and technologies which are available in the market. A lot of progress has been done. And with this entire advent of data engineering, cloud engineering going full stream, generative AI, people have virtually moved to real-time assist for customers. So not only you have a full 360 of a customer which is available, all the data that comes in is all pervasive across every omni-channel, and you have Gen AI tools which mine a lot of internal data sets, which are not only structured. There's a lot of unstructured data set which you also mine. And using models, you can respond back to clients to customers in a manner which is far superior to what agents were doing a couple of years back. So I would say, it's a massive uplift from a technology perspective, the way we were running things, 5 to 10 years back to what is happening now across the service hubs.
I agree with you, Ibai, when you said that it's a complete 360, and it's not a complete 360, not just in the evolution of the service hubs themselves, but also the expectation that is coming from the customers of what they expect from these service hubs, which I want to discuss in a short while from now. But Vijay, I want to bring you also in the conversation now. For a lot of people who might not be very familiar with the BPM industry, why don't you help us understand how crucial is the role of service hubs when you talk about customer experiences or even customer services?
See, service hubs, are the nerve center of the BPM industry. That goes without saying. And the analogy that I always tend to give people is that of F1 racing. Yes, the cars keep on getting better and better and better, but the superstars of the show are always the drivers, and that's how it is going to be. When it comes to the customer service industry in particular. And the reason I want to say this is that end customers seem to be fine with a technology oriented solution when the temperature of the transaction that they are involved in is low. But the moment the transaction temperature, gets hot, red hot or white hot, they want to talk to a customer. So you see this strange sort of phenomenon in the customer service industry where end customers are like, craving for more and more technology. Because at a personal level, they're dealing with applications like Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, what have you. But when it comes to corporate applications, the customer data is still completely owned by the corporate, not owned by the consumer.
Yeah.
And the customer journeys, etc., are they are not as refined as we would like them to be.
Sure.
So then this kind of ensures that you have to look at the service hub as a combination of technology and the human being that is going along with that particular technology or driving that particular technology, rather than looking at any one element in isolation. So that's been my experience. And, I increasingly see those two things, coming together in a tight fit.
Okay, so taking on from what you're saying, I want to bring Samir also in the conversation. Samir, essentially what Vijay is saying that, when you talk about the evolution of service hubs, you cannot see them as silos today, and that is the expectation from the customer as well. So when we speak about this 360, this evolution that has happened, what are these 2 or 3 factors or drivers, if I may call them, that are actually taking this transformation forward?
Yeah, no, I agree with the previous panelist, Ridhima, and to take it forward, I think one is definitely think of the last 5 years, right? And
Yeah.
some of the trends, and in fact, even before that, right? If you look at process automation, it was a big thing. Of course, it's evolved a lot. And then the last 2 years, you see Gen AI making all the waves, and there's a lot of hype over that. I'm sure we'll discuss a lot more of
Yes.
that. But what I'm saying is, if you look at the service hub today, right, versus 5 years back, I think versus say last 10 or 15 years, the amount of innovation that has happened and which is actually working on the ground is of a very different order now, right?
Okay.
Things are truly scalable. I mean, I can give examples of, in our company, we are driving, for example, with healthcare companies, right? Very deep domain-led transformations
Okay.
and, massive outcomes in terms of ranging from 20 to 60% improvement in productivity and, all the typical metrics you can think of, right? That's one. I think the implementation of technology and the real returns from them, I think, are here, number one. Number two, and I think you touched a bit upon that, Ridhima, the nature of the service hub, the role of it
Yeah.
in the scheme of things, I think that's evolving. I think all the raw material required to think of how to reshape operations for the future, I think that knowledge resides with the service hubs now. So I think
Okay.
rather than just running, big customer service centers,
Hmm.
even redefining operations processes, how these new technologies need to be weaved into the future operating models. I think a lot of that the service hubs actually leading now, and that trend will continue. It's just starting now. It will continue. The
Okay.
third and last point on this one, if I can, say is I think there's a kind of a shift in the generations themselves, right?
Okay.
If you think of the new generation, even employees for that matter, or partners or vendors, so customers are not the traditional definition of customers any longer. Even your own employees need the same level of services and all the other things that go with it. And
Yeah.
that is another driver when you think of service hubs beyond the traditional offerings we thought of in this industry.
Interesting. So, Abhinandan, essentially, what the other panelists are saying, one, that you cannot see neither the service hubs nor the customer experiences in silos. And of course, there is an evolution that's happening with technology, which is also helping you understand the ground reality better. But are there any industry specific cloud platforms that are also now coming up that are aiding in understanding these experiences, these needs, and these expectations?
So I'll start, from where actually Samir, and the other panelists left.
Sure.
Before we go into the cloud platforms, I
Sure.
think there's a couple of great points. One is, we're still calling it a service hub, but the evolution what has happened is it is no longer just a service hub. It is the innovation hub. It is the revenue hub. So companies are taking in looking at it in multiple ways, except for just running operations. Okay, so that has changed, the expectations of what, the associates need to deliver and what the customers expect. Okay, so that's point number one. And I think point number two, on what Samir, was kind of alluding to was, if you look at it, see, at the end of the day, it's a transaction between two individuals, right? There's a customer
Sure.
and associate. Both the sides, there's at least 5 generations in play. Okay, there's baby boomers, millennials, now the alpha generation, and same on the associates. Okay, so the role of the technology is how do you make the playing field level? How do you level the playing field? Okay, each generation has its own expectation,
Correct.
their own comfort level with technology, say on the customer side and also on the employee side, and hence they need different tools to enable them to level that playing field. Okay. Now, with that in mind, so then you say, okay, are various industries or domains more mature than the others, or are moving at a much rapid pace?
Sure.
Where there are industry-specific cloud offerings or technology offerings. Okay. I think yes, and then we can get into deep. If I look at, if you just look at, what has happened in the last, 4 years with the amount of M&A activity, with the large, say, CCaaS players, either buying, smaller point solutions. It is all about making that, leveraging AI or Gen AI in that larger ecosystem, and then there's multiple tools out there, right? You have a Genesis, you have a NICE,
Sure.
you have Amazon and Google and everybody. Okay. But, there's also a lot of, I would say in the last 3 years, the whole innovation ecosystem has grown a lot.
Okay.
Both in India, and outside, and especially in India, where there's a innovation happening on using Gen AI into various point solutions, for customer service industry. Now, be it, in terms of agent assist, and now, when you talk about, okay, servicing customers in the APAC region, there's a language complexity.
Sure.
How do you use AI for language translation? So all of the point solution ecosystem growth. I hope that answers your question.
Sure. And Abhinandan, we'll dwell deeper into AI and Gen AI in just a bit. But I like the point that you're making where you're saying that what you also need to understand is who you're catering to or who you're serving. And as you pointed out, there are multiple generations and each generation has a different expectation. So Sanjay, I want to bring you back in. What Abhinandan actually is saying is very crucial for us to go to our next bit, which is how do you cater to these different expectations? These are different experiences. Do we have the capability and the domain to try and curate it in a way in terms of what these expectations are?
Absolutely. I think, all the panelists covered some of great points. And I'll go back to the point that I think Samir mentioned of getting the domain angle into it. And, Abhinandan covered the fact that you have 5 different generations, both on the customer side as well as the employee side.
Yeah.
So, Ridhima, you were talking about how do you embed solutions? You were talking about platforms,
Yes.
which you can, kind of drop into this entire ecosystem. So I think completely agree. Getting that right industry alignment, the domain alignment is very critical. The way you handle a banking customer from a service hub vis-a-vis the way you would handle a telecom customer from a service hub is very different. The data requirements are different. The data privacy angles are very very different. The way you treat PII data is very different. There are aspects around GDPR, non-GDPR data sets. So so the industry gets in a very big angle from pulling the domain in. Then what you leverage from a technology perspective, to kind of make sure that the experience of any customer across various persona
Sure.
is kind of catered in a very holistic manner, so that you
Yeah.
can keep on improving NPS score, CSAT score. That kind of also gets into a big angle. So at eClerx we build a capability which is very focused around telecom customers. To your example, which is very focused around multiple forms of input data sets, whether it is chat, voice, web form data coming in, where you transcribe, you kind of do sentiment analysis, behavior
Okay.
analysis, you extract, and you also have a real-time assist. And then you extract the best set of your calls or chat messages and use it back for agent training. So long answer, but going back to your point, making sure that the domain is embedded in your solution, making sure
Yeah.
your customer personas are embedded, and making sure the technology experience across omni-channel remains same for the customer.
Sure. So we'll talk about omnichannel also in just a bit, because that's very crucial to maintain that consistency across these platforms as well. But Vijay, what I was asking the earlier panelists, could you give me some specifics of industry cloud platforms that are now catering, that are tailoring to these demands that are also changing?
Uh, See, each and every industry has their own, specific platforms, if you will. So, for example, if you were to look at, let us say, the credit card industry, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to take names of any,
Sure.
softwares or platforms
Sure.
over here, but there are players who do everything from onboarding to relationship management to receivables management and the whole calculation underlying. Similarly, if you look at banking itself, I mean, the two or three big players in the Indian IT industry, they have banking platforms.
Yeah.
And if you were to look at, let's say, generic services like service desk programs, etc., which are organized to help internal customers, there have been any number of platforms. Back in the day, you used to have things like Remedy, etc., and now it has transformed into a service now kind of ecosystem that
Yeah.
seems to be kind of taking over. But and if you were to go into healthcare, or if you were to go into, let's say, insurance, or whatever, I mean, there are any number of platforms. In fact, Infosys itself owns one world class platform called McCamish that we
Yeah.
take to the market. But then again, this is not a sales pitch, right? So the point I want to kind of make, uh, and Sanjay brought that up inadvertently, is that uh, there are elements that are required in today's industry that go beyond the platform, right?
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, what is a platform? It is nothing but a collection of, you can say, good practices and best practices that belong to a certain industry
Correct.
that are brought under one umbrella. And the idea being that if every competitor, or if every player in an industry were to adopt that particular platform, then in exchange for efficiency, they are giving up a certain amount of competitive advantage. So
Correct.
then how do you create that particular competitive, advantage when you have this, platform on board and you do policies, procedures, design of customer journeys, the behaviors that you incentivize and disincentivize and, so on. And I
Hmm.
feel that that is where, the industry has a very, very big role to play. And especially within that, the Indian industry,
Okay.
because the range of talent that service hubs in India especially have now, it's not present anywhere in the world.
Got it.
You can look at the US, UK, effectively what they have done since this industry started, I'm going to say about 27 or 28 years ago, is effectively they have de-skilled because that was a profitable, decision,
Yeah.
for them. And certain other low cost geographies have gone in a different area. But when
Okay.
it comes to, let's say, volume, when it comes to complexity, when it just comes to the range of skills,
Hmm.
be it domain or mathematical skills or computer application skills, etc., we are kind of unmatched.
Yeah.
So the way I see it, to sum up, is that yes, platforms will be important because they will be efficiency drivers. But in addition to platforms, all these other things that I spoke about
Yeah.
are going to be sort of the value added
Correct.
wraparounds around it, which ultimately deliver competitive advantage. And what our customers are collectively speaking at the end of the day, they may articulate it in terms of experience or cost or this or that, but ultimately
Hmm.
what they are seeking is competitive advantage.
Correct. Correct. I like the point where you said that, platforms will always be, in a way, the bread and butter of what we're discussing, but there are levers around it as well
That's
that
right.
will aid the transformation. And, Samir, I want to bring you also back in the conversation and taking on from what Vijay is saying, which is the crux of what we're discussing, which is this evolution that is being driven by technology. And the minute you mention the elephant in the room, or you might call it otherwise, which is artificial intelligence, what many might not know, that artificial intelligence in fact has existed with the BPM industry for a very long time. It's in fact Gen AI that is actually changing this transformation or revolution, or how we're seeing the next stage of this technological transformation. So before I even get into the nitty gritties of what are these drivers of AI, what are these tools that are driving it, I just want to get a sense from the panelists. And Zamir, I want to begin with you. Is artificial intelligence and Gen AI in the BPM industry specific to service hubs a boon or a bane?
Yeah, no, very interesting. I think it's going to disrupt for sure, right? And as we have seen over the last 2 years, uh, obviously, as with any such new technology, there was a massive, hype around it,
Yeah,
and obviously a lot of investment, which was experimental in nature, right? So everyone
correct.
wanted to, be on that train, not be left behind, and a lot of money was spent trying to figure out where does the next, step in this lie. I
Yeah,
think things are settling back into a bit of a mature stage now. Maybe a bit too early to call that, but definitely aspects around ROI. How does this fit? As you rightly said, Gen AI was what the general public and maybe execs could touch and feel and see how wow it is, right?
yeah,
Versus analytics was always there and the experts knew it, and maybe we as consumers just saw the end result of it, right?
yeah,
But now when you touch and feel all these chat GPTs and all the Dalis of the world, suddenly that convinces you this is real, right, here to stay. So I think this is going to be disruptive for sure. I think as with any such disruption, I think it's how we navigate it. I think it's a long haul, so obviously from a people perspective, which is obviously the biggest concern, right, when any such
yeah.
thing happens. And obviously, for example, we have done a pretty big study with Oxford at Cognizant.
Okay,
We call it the New Work, New World study. And
okay,
obviously, these are early studies, directional in nature. So, the accuracy we can debate. But what we did was looked at nearly 1,000 jobs and like 18,000 activities. And there's a study done to figure out what's the exposure score to Gen AI, right? Across all these jobs. And there's a particular score that comes out to help you assess what are the industries that are more, or functions that are more affected, less affected, and in what time frame. So in the US alone, the estimate was like up to $1 trillion in the next 8 to 10 years is
Okay.
the impact from a productivity perspective, right? And obviously, then I think it's about from a people point of view, and that's a big thing we are driving now. How do we create the right talent architecture to help people
Correct.
navigate this, be ready for the next type of jobs? Because I think most analysts will tell you, and we are convinced about it, that while certain work will go away, newer work will emerge. And the great thing, and people refer to agent assist and other technologies, right? The great thing about this new technology is, you can level up people very quickly, right? You don't need to be expert, but you can be an expert in a few months, and you have
Yeah.
all the great tools helping you do your job as well as the best performance, right? Uh, so I think that's the way I see from a people point of view. From a pure technology point of view, I think it's as someone before me said, right? There's a massive plethora of technologies out there. Technology is not, there's no dearth of that. It's
Correct.
about how we bring it together in a workable business context.
Okay.
And that's the journey everyone is on right now.
So, you said something very interesting, but some might call it controversial as well. And this is what I wanted to get to, which is that every time we speak about artificial intelligence, the question is, will human jobs be taken away? So you're saying that yes, it's a reality that certain aspect and certain jobs, in fact, will be taken away. But the hope also is that there will be new jobs that will be created. So I'm just probing here. I just want to know, are there specific sectors that you're looking at where jobs could be taken away because of the emergence of AI, Gen AI, and other new technologies?
Yeah, so I think customer service definitely is one which will have a higher rate of disruption.
Okay.
However, when we think of that, I think our mental model is the current view of what we think of that as a workplace, right? I think the future of this, and we spoke about it in the earlier, the evolution that's happening,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
human in the loop doesn't go away. The need for the end consumers to have a human touch when they are dealing with the corporate, that doesn't go away.
Okay.
And value these service hubs, innovation hubs can add in the entire value chain, that can be redefined to something very different, right? So obviously, newer jobs get created, they will be of higher value, and at the same time, you don't need to be as skilled. The skills are easier to acquire with the new technologies at your disposal.
Okay. Okay. Abhinandan, I want to bring you in to ask you specific examples, for the viewers to also understand. Of course, there's a general consensus that there is deep penetration of AI and Gen AI, but I want to break it into two parts. One, I want to understand what is the kind of disruption that you're seeing at a service hub level, courtesy Gen AI and AI, and what is the kind of disruption that you're seeing vis-a-vis the customer experience?
Okay. No, thanks. So let me start addressing that. So let's see from an agent perspective. So what we did at StarTech is, we got one of the big fives, to
Yeah.
do a study, with both our existing customers, other peers in the industry, and then also, all the other big corporates out there. And we said, okay, what are the use cases with Gen AI solve, both from a customer perspective and from an employee perspective, associate perspective.
Yeah.
So then solve what is the aspiration? Because see, as one of the earlier participants said, see, Gen AI is real. Everyone is playing with it every day.
Yeah.
Okay, so no matter if you want to use it or not, someone is using it somewhere.
Correct.
So and then if you look at the research report, by the end of next year, 85% of the organizations will be using it.
Correct.
Small, big, wherever. So we said, okay, so we had an entire platform called StarTech Agent AI. Okay, and then we did a launch of StarTech Agent AI 2.0, which is infusing the entire Gen AI capabilities into that. And that was very much closely tied into the earlier point I was trying to make. Okay, I have these different generations working for me. So we
Yes.
went mapped out their entire journey. Okay, what is the journey of my employee from hire to retire? What are all the touch points, where they feel frustration or friction, or they think that they can use some help, to get further. Now, if I take that, then we said, okay, further now, what does that suite look like? So, what we're doing is, we have AI infused right from the hiring stage. Okay, in terms of assessing the right candidate, more than assessing the fitment to the job. So we're using AI to create simulated environments where they know what kind of job, they're going to do, so that they get a feel for it before they get hired. When they get hired, we are using AI for an entire simulated coaching. Okay. So that's a starting AI coach. Now with that, we have seen, productivity of the employees going up, but more importantly, from training into production, in the customer service, you normally see a big drop because,
Yeah.
people get cold feet. Am I trained or not? We saw that drop, significantly less.
Okay.
Because now, using AI and the simulation coaching, and they're feeling a lot more confident. Okay, I can go in there. And then, what does the employee need? Then the employee needs, okay, I need real-time performance feedback.
Correct.
Because the people demand it right now. I need to know how I am doing, versus others. So again, so using that, using AI, and other models, normal machine learning models also, so everything doesn't have to be AI or Gen AI,
Yeah.
so we are like, okay, what is a real-time feedback? Gamify the entire environment so that they are, now they are competing again because you have virtual offices right now, and
Yeah.
still you have different offices. Then we moved on to the entire stage of, okay, now you're on the job. You've been trained. You're on the job. Now what do you do? So use AI to do real-time agent assist. Okay, give them trails. Okay, or
Correct.
give them prompts. Give them the next best action. To do things. So once you're doing that, but the thing of that relies on what is a knowledge base
Yeah.
they are thinking. Okay, and that's where you start infusing large language models. To pull up data. Into that. So then there's that piece, and
Yeah.
then more importantly is using AI for people's mental health.
Yeah.
That is very important. So we have partnered with some of the industry leading mental health platforms which use AI, and we provide that to the agent because that is also the like, for example, for providing postpartum support for
Okay.
women. That's a big thing because we in our data, that's where we saw a big attrition happening or people taking time off. How do you
Sure.
support them? How do you support them at that time? And again, AI assists all of that in a more one way. From a
Okay.
customer standpoint, see, customers, yes, we've been talking about omni-channel, but if you look at it, how many are really omni-channel out
Yeah.
there? Yeah. It is still very disparate channels.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with the whole Gen AI piece, we are trying to push, okay, what is a lot of self-service, and you can create a single feel and experience around channels.
Yeah.
Okay, aiding that. It is aiding, customers are also expecting, okay, on the go, how do I get an answer, without, in some cases, talking to someone.
Yeah.
But third most important, which always, see, at the end of the day, why do you call, Ridhima? Why would you call a customer service center? Because
When I
either,
have a problem.
right, when you have an issue, right?
Correct.
At that stage, what do you expect the most? You expect empathy the most.
Yeah.
Okay, so how we are looking at it is AI is there to amplify that empathy delivered in every transaction.
Yeah.
Okay. So I call it empathy amplified. That is how the agent and the AI, work together to
Okay.
deliver empathy amplified, so that the customer, goes out of that call and says, okay, yes, this
Yes.
was my good moment. So
Yeah. I like the fact that you've given a positive interpretation of how AI is being used in delivering customer experiences. Because when I speak on to a lot of people, usually the question is that can you really replicate the human emotion when it comes to artificial intelligence or Gen AI? But before I continue, I think Vijay wanted to come in. Vijay, I believe you wanted to come in.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, I might have a point to add to what both Sameer as well as Abhinandan have, just, talked about. Uh, the point I wanted to talk about is, what is AI going to do to industry and specifically the customer service industry? And I'll pick up from where Sameer left off. He said that, it is going to disrupt this particular industry. Absolutely true. But in terms of, what it is going to do to the jobs in this particular industry, I think there is going to be an increase of anywhere between, 2x to 5x in the number of jobs that are going to be created, in this particular, industry. And at least to, someone like me, and I think the case with all the other panelists is the same on this particular call as well. The central reason why we are discussing this is economics. What's
Correct.
it going to do to the industry? And what you should notice is that the nature of AI is such that for every 10, let us say, lowly paid jobs that it replaces, and
Hmm.
pardon me for using that particular term, I'm just keeping
Sure.
my vocabulary simple out here, you're going to end up creating anywhere between 2 to 5 jobs that are going to be highly paid jobs or high
Okay.
disposable income jobs, because you need people who know data cleansing. You need to have people who know algorithms. You need to have people who know how to train
Hmm.
your model. You need to know how, you need to have people who understand things like, model drift and all those kind of things. So
Yeah.
these are not, so these are not easy, kind of things. So the way I look at it is that, almost by serendipity, what has happened in the customer service industry because of AI is that the golden age of customer service has actually begun. You can look at it in that
Interesting.
particular way.
Hmm.
And my prediction is that uh, the net amount of venture capital and private equity capital that you're going to see in the customer service industry going forward is going to be anywhere between 5x to 10x of what it has been in the last 5 years. So I mean, it is great news for us. Okay. Now, while so much money gets poured into AI and AI research related to customer service specifically,
Yeah.
people will also find out that AI and Gen AI is not the panacea that people generally make it out to be. Okay.
Hmm.
That is also great news for the customer service industry, and especially for a location like India. You know,
Hmm.
because in a place like India, because of the way we grow up in familial societal environments, which are high contact environments, is what
Yeah.
I'm going to say.
Yeah.
People's ability to deal with each other is very highly refined, but language might be a barrier, right?
Correct.
So what AI does is that it allows some high EQ, high IQ person who might otherwise be limited by language to be
Sure.
able to connect with customers around the world through
Hmm.
tools, right?
Correct.
And then that drives the economics again in the favor of this particular business.
Correct.
And therefore, I feel that we are just scratching at the golden age of
Yeah.
of customer service,
Hmm.
worldwide, and especially through out of India. That's
Interesting.
my view.
Interesting, very interesting. Sanjay, taking on from what Vijay is pointing out, that if the golden age of the customer service industry has just begun, I just have a small, question to ask, and before we start understanding the future trends and wrapping, which is that when we speak about the use of technology, I want to understand: is there specific data analytics that can in fact be used to predict customer needs? Because what you're essentially trying to do is use technology to save time to be more productive. So is there a way to preempt customer needs and expectations as well through data analytics?
Absolutely. All the data, you have large CRM tools which are in use. You have the likes of, somebody mentioned the likes of Genesis, Nice, Nexidia, which kind
Correct.
of your contact center tools, which are your touch point tools.
Hmm.
So all that data anyway sits within the organization. And I think somebody anyway mentioned, the concept of next best action. So you have a lot
Yeah.
of customer data sitting. You can slice it and dice it. Take a 360 view of the customer. When a call or a text or a chat lands onto that agent's desk,
Yeah.
and the agent has to respond, you can use your GenAI models to mine structured and unstructured data, pull in past data, and not only solve the customer problem, also recommend a couple of next best action solutions, for the customer.
Interesting.
So I think, as the panelists said before it, it's actually probably the best time to be in customer care or customer service. You have so much data sitting with you. For the first time, you have tools and technology which help you, mine structured, unstructured data. Traditionally,
Yeah.
people used to just query the CRM system or a biller system and get the structured data. This customer, this is what his past purchases, this was the
Yeah.
last complaint, and that's it. And then you get on a call and you try to start from step one and trying to
Yeah.
understand the problem. Now you have structured data. You have internal blogs, wikis, KDBs, which is called the knowledge databases, setting in, where somebody would have solved a similar problem for some other customer, but not kind of updated the core platform, but
Yeah.
would have a wiki written out there so that you can pull that data in. And you
Yeah.
can also do a lot of intelligence around relevancy of what you pull in while responding back to the customer, and recency,
Okay.
which earlier used to be a big challenge to respond to customer needs. So I think
Yeah.
surely there's so much technology which is which is at your disposal to help answer it, and it's these things that we are also driving with our customers, which customers are also liking for which our clients are also liking for the first time.
Yeah, so this is interesting. That's exactly what I wanted to understand, that how are you eliminating the time? What are the learnings that have been from the time when we didn't have these advancements? So very interesting. But gentlemen, because we're running out of time also, I want to begin wrapping the discussion. But the one aspect that we haven't touched is that we know where we're standing, but what is next? When Vijay says that, the golden age has begun, so what is the next chapter of the Service Hub industry? So, Samir, I want to bring you in the conversation. I want to understand quickly, if you could give me two trends that stick out to you that you think will dominate the future of the service industry, service hubs industry more specifically.
So I think, as with any of these massive changes, right? I think the nature of the industry will change, right? So I think even calling it customer service or service industry, may be a very different outlook 5 years from now. Because end of
Agreed.
the day, and I'm coming at it from Cognizant, so the way we approach it in this market, right? Where we are very deep into customers' middle office processes, right? And customer service is always an element in the larger operational, setup, right? Now, with all these technologies, and one clear trend is definitely, and we spoke about platforms in the past,
Yes.
a few minutes. The platforms will actually try to integrate a lot of things. That's the nature of platforms, right?
Okay.
A lot of innovation happens in fragments, and then over time, some deep investments happen into platforms, and they take
Yeah.
over most of that innovation into that platform, right? So I think of it as whatever is the operational aspect of that customer service, right? Whichever it may be, right? Could be internal, external, could be vendors, whoever it may be. I think
Yeah.
that larger process and operations is where the action will be. So I think it will be good for us, especially grab that opportunity. Someone mentioned 2 to 5x more jobs and so on. But
Yeah.
that requires some work. It's not going to happen as a gradual path from here. I think we need to think of ourselves in a very different operational management light and take on those larger responsibilities with customer service being one element, of course, powered by all the technologies we already talked about. So I think that for me is a big trend, that we don't stick only to our traditional notion of customer service, but think larger,
Okay.
because the operations is what the final client is really, worried about, right? Customer service being one angle to it, right? So that I think
Okay.
will be a big one going forward. The domain, functional knowledge, technology all coming together to help from both cost, revenue, all that standpoint for the customer, right?
Okay. So
Uh,
so essentially, what you're saying is also where our mindset is coming from, which is of how we saw things traditionally. Once we begin to change that, also we'll try and understand the most recent needs and what we can do to cater to the future needs as well. Abhinandan, I'll bring you in to give you the final word. When we say that we need to adapt to the changing trends, to the changing evolution, what is that one big adaptability that you wish to see with service hubs going forward as we adapt to the demand, the increase, the expectations coming in from the customers?
I think the single biggest thing is change management and narrative, right? See, because
Okay.
there's a lot of noise in the system, which is like, oh, Gen AI is going to take away jobs. And then and an organization can start with that, that it is here to coexist,
Yeah.
and improve the level of service, which you deliver. Plus, also, as earlier panelists said, moving people up the value chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is what is there, because so that is what I would say is the single biggest thing where, now the innovation, and all of us, have made innovation into a more, I would say federated, distributed model. So it has to
Yes.
happen at the last mile in the organization. And how do you enable that? I
Okay.
think that is the single most important thing, because that is where it will come and transform, how we work, in these service hubs, and then what is the experiences we deliver out of these service hubs.
Got it. Okay, so I think that's a good note to wrap the discussion as well. Essentially, trying to understand where service hubs currently stand and where the expectation of the customer also stands. So, the consensus from the panelists seems to be that yes, there is an integration and penetration of technology, but we want the technology to coexist with this industry to take us to this next level. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure chatting with all of you. Thank you so much for taking our time and joining us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank
To all
you.
our viewers as well, we hope you enjoyed watching our continuous coverage of different facets of the BPM industry, how the evolution of service hubs is being integrated with technology. And as someone said, the golden era is still yet to come. We hope you enjoyed watching it. We'd love to hear feedback from you. Thanks a lot for watching.